What's up guys, Miss Pass here back with another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes commentary video, and today we are actually getting to take a serious breakdown look at territory battles. That's right, we finally have a full idea, a much better idea rather, of what territory battles is going to entail, how to deploy our troops, how our troops are actually going to affect completion of each individual stage or phase, and how our actual progress is going to get ranked against other guilds. So, jumping right into some of the screenshots from the notes that are on the forum, we have this screenshot of the actual territory battles in progress. As you can see, the timer up top, 1 hour 33 minutes left. The biggest question to a lot of people is how the territory battles were going to progress and how long they lasted. Well, the answer is that it is going to be a 3-day guild event consisting of 6 individual phases that are each 12 hours long. So you see there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 main segments from left to right across that map. Those are going to be your 6 phases. Inside of some of those phases, there were multiple segments inside of each. So the main phase lines are the vertical phase lines in that screenshot. The horizontal lines are simply segregating the phase into different segments. So for example, on that particular screenshot, phase 1 was a single segment. Phase 2 was 2 segments, sorry. Phase 3, 4, and it looks like possibly 5 and 6 might all be 3 segments each. So it's going to get progressively more difficult because you're going to have to deploy your troops spread out between each of those phases. So now this is where guild coordination is going to be vital. You're going to have to coordinate with each of the members inside your guild in order to make sure that you are not putting all of your effort into one segment of those 3 segment territories. The reason that is important to make sure that you're not focusing too much on one territory is because the progression into the next phases is dependent upon scoring at least 1 star, which is determined by how many territory points you score in each of those areas. So obviously, if you only get 1 star in one area, you're only going to progress into the north, central, or south segment of that territory phase. So you have to score at least 1 star in each phase in order to move on to the next phase, which means that you may not necessarily be only spending 3 days on your territory battle. This is where it is important to note that it doesn't matter how strong or weak your guild is, you will complete territory battles. It's just a matter of how long that territory battle duration will last. So basically what I'm saying is you don't have to be in a monstrous guild of whales in order to clear territory battles. Now, that only means that the monstrous guilds of whales are going to clear territory battles in a much faster manner. They're going to it's going to be faster. That's really the only determining factor here. So if you are in a newer guild or a smaller guild, you're simply going to be spending more time on each territory battle phase. You're not going to be spending just the simple 12 hours. Now, what's going to be annoying for those big guilds is that they're going to have to probably wait several hours after completing those phases. So unfortunately for those guilds, the large whaley guilds, they are going to be spending more time waiting, probably, than actually participating in territory battles. But if there is only one detail that any of you viewers take from this video, it is that any guild and every guild will complete territory battles. I guarantee it. It's simply a matter of how many phases will be completed in how short of a duration. That's the only factor. So, moving on to deploying troops. I mentioned it earlier that you're going to have to coordinate as a guild the deployment of your troops. Now, The first battle is obviously going to be Planet Hoth. We're going to be playing Rebels and Light Side forces, which means that your Dark Side forces are not going to be used in the actual battles, but they are going to be used to deploy to count towards your total territory points in each individual territory. Which brings me to the next screenshot, actual deployment of characters. So at the deployment screen, this is where you will get to see how much your power, the power of your individual characters, will contribute to the actual territory. I think a lot of you remember the power level change that was made in the game a few months ago, back in June. Now, that it was done in anticipation of territory battles in order to have a more realistic number to base a character's power off of. This number up here at the top, the unallocated number, 1.307 million, that is the total unallocated galactic power of the units available to deploy to this territory. It is important to note that once a character is deployed to a territory, they can only participate to missions on that territory and cannot be deployed to another territory during that phase. It is important to note that once the phases transition, all units that were deployed in the previous phase are now available for the next phase. And if you recall, the previous territory battles notes specified that certain characters were going to be important for fighting in certain missions in order to gain certain rewards. So it is important to note that if you have a character that is required for a particular territory, for a particular mission inside that territory, that you deploy that character at the very least. Deploy those required characters first to those specific territories in order to participate in those missions, and then go back and deploy other units as required. Which brings up, obviously, missions. Missions are going to be one of the most important strategic aspects of territory battles. Certain missions all players are going to be able to participate in because they won't have any character restrictions other than light side. That is one important factor to keep in mind, in that you will only be able to perform missions with light side characters or mission specific characters. As far as I know, there are not going to be any missions that require dark side characters, because the whole premise of this territory battle is that it is on Hoth and you are fighting on the light side. The first types of missions are going to be the most basic, and those are going to be combat missions. Combat missions are going to be 6 waves long, and each additional wave is going to increase the amount of territory points that you will contribute or earn towards that territory. If you are unable to beat all 6 waves, all territory points earned for completed waves will contribute to the guild's total, so you do not have to complete all 6 waves in order to earn points to that phase. That is important to note. Combat missions are also going to be where some guilds are going to run into those problems with some players not being able to contribute because they don't have a unit, or rather a mission-specific character. Also, it is important to note that each of those 6 waves will get progressively more difficult. I would expect the last phase, the 6th wave, to probably be on par with a heroic tier difficulty. So thinking a very well modded Gear 10 and 11 squad will be required in order to clear all 6 phases of a combat mission. The next type of mission are the Platoon Missions. In the Platoon Missions, all guild members are going to work together to complete all 6 platoons. Each platoon will require 15 specific characters with a minimum star level, and this will depend on what phase that you are in. Realistically, you could expect those later phases to require higher star levels, and that may go for combat missions as well. So if you have Commander Luke Skywalker, obviously he's at 7 stars. However, we do have a pretty good idea that the Hoth Rebel Soldier and Hoth Rebel Scout are both going to be important to territory battles. One might reason that if you have Hoth Rebel Soldier at 5 stars, you will obviously not be able to participate in a combat mission or a platoon mission in which that character's required star level is higher than 5 stars. Makes sense. So, platoon mission progress is shared across the whole guild, so it's not like you have to have all 50 members of your guild with all 6 platoons worth of characters. So it's important to make sure that if you only have a few members of your guild with a particular character, that player deploys the appropriate characters to the appropriate platoon. It's also important to note that each player is going to be limited in how many slots they can fill individually, so you have to coordinate to fill every slot. Make sure that you don't have players just going in and using all 10, 15, however many characters they can deploy maximum, that they are not wasting their deployments on characters that other players have when they happen to be the one player that has a specific character for a specific platoon that nobody else in the guild has. So, the reason that platoons are so important is that they don't only contribute territory points to the phase or the territory. When you complete platoons, you will also unlock abilities from the strategic landmark. Each platoon battle is focused on a particular landmark. So the ion cannon, for example, every 2 platoons that are completed on the ion cannon's platoon mission, you will increase the capability and the benefits granted to your forces, your troops, from the platoon mission, if that makes any sense. So you'll have 3 tiers of completion for the platoon mission. Obviously 6 platoons. That means that for each 2 platoons you get 1 tier for the platoon mission. So unlocking all 6 platoons will get you the maximum power of the ion cannon. Additionally, when you complete platoon missions and you unlock those abilities are available in all of the combat missions. So it's important to deploy the platoon missions, or rather complete the platoon missions first before you go and do any combat missions, because you will be getting benefits for the combat missions from the platoon missions. So order of battle should be the platoon missions and then the combat missions at the very least. In addition to the platoon missions and the combat missions, there will be special missions. The special missions will not grant territory points, so it is not important to clear the special missions in order to clear territories. Instead, these special missions will grant unique rewards for the entire guild. For example, in one special mission, all guild members will earn 1 Rebel Officer Leia Organa shard, Rolo shard, for every guild member that completes it. So, if it's a special mission that requires Commander Luke Skywalker, only the players in your guild who have Commander Luke Skywalker will be able to complete that special mission. Obviously, that may be one of the higher end special missions, since Commander Luke Skywalker was such a difficult character to unlock. But if it's a character like the Hoth Rebel Soldier, the Hoth Rebel Scout, Rancor Han Solo, maybe Old Ben Kenobi, it may be one of those characters that's a little bit more common and easier to obtain. I'm not talking about Hoth Rebel Soldier because he has 1 stinking hard mode, which really sucks. But in regards to those special missions, you aren't necessarily going to have 100% participation and completion in your guild. I would strive towards that goal, because obviously the more people that complete a special mission, the more shards you are going to be earning, or the more special rewards you're going to earn. But those special missions, like I said, are going to be more challenging. They're going to have stricter unit requirements, and they will not show up as often as combat missions. But it is important that when they do show up, that you get maximum participation in the guild. One of the more interesting aspects of territory battles is the reward structure. The guild will earn rewards based on the total number of stars earned. So it's not going to be like raids where you beat it or you don't, and your rewards are based on your rank. In territory battles, everyone will earn the same amount of rewards. So the person who contributes the most territory points will earn the same rewards as the player who contributes the least number of territory points. It's a little bit of a socialist design, but it's going to be awesome, because if you have a very, very active, very, very dedicated guild, then everybody is going to earn the same rewards. You won't have too much animosity, hopefully, towards those players who maybe only log in once a week and didn't do anything. But your rewards will be based on the total number of stars earned. So if you have 1 or 2 missing stars in a few territories, then you will have that, you won't get the maximum rewards, you'll get maybe just a tiny step down. But it is going to be based on the total number of stars earned. You will also earn a new currency, guild event tokens, which makes sense because each area of the game has to have its own currency, otherwise the game gets, well, really boring. These tokens can obviously be spent in the specific guild event store, and you will be using those rewards to purchase gear for tiers 11 and 12, and shards for Rebel Officer Leia Organa, Captain Han, and Hermit Yoda. It would make sense that those shards are probably going to be tiered in cost. I would expect Rebel Officer Leia Organa and Captain Han to be the less expensive shards, and possibly Hermit Yoda to be the more expensive shards, just because, I mean, Hermit Yoda really kind of seems like the most legendary of the 3. Each guild member that participates, like I said, is going to earn the same rewards. However, just because you're getting the same rewards doesn't mean there's not going to be a rank structure. That means that there is actually going to be a stat screen, kind of like the damage contribution in the raids, that ranks each guild member based on their total contribution to the territory battle. The ranks, like I said, don't affect the prizes rewarded, but you can see who has the most stacked roster in your guild based on the number of territory points they contributed. That number is also going to be heavily affected by those combat missions. So if a person who may not have as stacked of a roster completed all 6 tiers of every combat mission, and a person with a much more robust roster only contributed or completed 5 battles or 5 stages of the combat missions, then you may see that person who doesn't have quite as complete of a roster actually contribute more territory points. So it is going to be a little bit competitive inside each guild, but it is going to be very cool. I'm very excited for territory battles. I have been itching to make this video for a long time. I know it's a little bit long, but I wanted to make a really good in-depth guide on how the territory battles are going to work, so that when you guys have a chance to finally get into your first territory battle, that you aren't going in blind. That about does it for this video, guys. If you liked the video, a thumbs up goes a long way in helping me out, and if you really think it's helpful, go ahead and feel free to share it with all your friends. And to be kept up to date with all of my latest videos, go ahead and subscribe and make sure you have your notifications turned on. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Check me out on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and join the Discord server to continue the conversation, and I will catch you all later.